Okay, well, you say you want to find an affordable home. You want to find a deal. You want to find something that's off market, maybe, or maybe it's on market, but you don't want to pay retail pricing for your next house. Well, today I've got a special guest with me, and we're going to hunt through the internet to see if we can find an opportunity in this video and show you how to find a deal or a diamond in the rough when it comes to the housing market. All right, so I've got Mr. Raymond from Raymond Thoughts in Mind here with me. He's been successful finding off market opportunities on Zillow, on the internet without the use of a real estate agent like me. So, Raymond, what's going on? How you doing, man?
Jason, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us today. So I've got Raymond with me. He's going to take us through how he hunts for properties on Zillow. He's sharing his screen. We're going to get right into it. So Raymond, take us through some of the techniques that you start with when you're trying to find an opportunity with a house, a duplex, or something to rent out, or even something to flip.
Yeah. So, I mean, full disclosure, I live in Miami County area. It's an hour and a half west of the Columbus area. I know that you're Central Ohio. So I'm intimately familiar with real estate around me. My Zillow is, cookies enabled and all, so it pretty much saves where I usually look. So when you're thinking about Ohio, Columbus is right here, and Cincinnati is down here. As you can see by the pink over here, I spend a lot of my time looking in the Sydney, Piqua, Troy tip area, just up and down 75 north of Dayton. I'm from this area. It's where I decided to go ahead and buy property to put down roots. So one of the first things, and I look at Zillow every day. So one of the first things I'll do is just come into the buy feature. And I don't even put any filters on anything. And we'll get into some filters later that you can kind of do. But I'll just like kind of zoom into like say Troy or Tip and see if anything just catches my eye. I tend to stay away from the $500,000 stuff, the new builds on the edge of town. This, Troy, according to the U.S. Census, has approximately 21,000 people in it. Personally, living in Miami County, it's about 100,000 in Miami County proper, but that's split up between Tip down here, the outer small municipality, or not even town. They're really just towns, and then like Piqua up here. So I usually just zoom right in and see if anything catches my eye in the sub 300,000 mark. Like over here, I'll see like 220 or 110. Some of them, I just kind of scroll through to see what they have going on. I know, like for instance, this one's been on market forever, well over a year. It's a nice place. It's small, 780 square feet, but that's perfect for an individual or a young couple or somebody looking for an investment property. It says 38 days on Zillow, but I know for a fact it's been on Zillow for well over a year, because if you look at the listing removed and price change data, it goes all the way back to 2020, and then 2022 they renovated and they put it back on the market. So they've been playing in that upper 90s, lower $100,000 mark. And this is about right for what I'm seeing for as far as square footage out here and lot size for the low 100 mark.
Hey,
And
Raymond.
then people,
Hey,
yeah, sure.
Raymond, real quick, sorry to interrupt. Go back to you just brought up a good point. I think the folks need to see what you did there. When you go down where the history is of the property,
Mhm.
it says that it's how long does it say it's been on Zillow?
So, okay. So up here, and you'll see this all the time, it says 38 days on Zillow, and they try to kind of bury this.
Right,
I
right.
don't think they like presenting it, because when you're on the map view, you don't see that information. It would be helpful to see that information. This basically updates when the MLS refreshes on the three, they check it, they crawl the MLS every day or 3 hours or whatever. It shows you when it was updated. So November 19th, they're still trying to market this, and it's listed with Dayton Realtors, which is basically the MLS down here. But then I scroll down to the price history, and this is where you get the real story. And sometimes I've noticed that the Dayton MLS, like when I tried to sell my house that I renovated this past summer, they scrubbed all of the photos that they uploaded and all the MLS sales and price change information for the property.
But if I look down there, it says listing removed, or it says
Yeah.
price change,
So
listing removed, then listing for sale. So it's been on a lot longer than 36 days.
exactly. So you look back here and you can kind of tell yourself a story. So look, 11/19/2024 price change down to 110. They had it listed, as a price change, and then the original listing for sale, which is where you're getting that 36 days, was 10/19/24 at 129, which obviously that's too much for this house. But then you can also see that listing removed 9/05/24 for 110, and then they relisted it at 10/19, so they reset that clock. So in reality, it's been marketed. And if you look at, I think this one is agent owned. If you look at the description, it'll say, I think they have to tell you, yeah, property
Mhm.
is agent owned. So I think they're just keeping this as a rental. And it's occupied, obviously. And they just keep refreshing the listing every 90 days or so, because you look at the last sale date was 2/13/23, year and a half ago. So I'm assuming that was when the agent swooped in and bought it, because they were trying to market for 99, and they basically, okay, they did sell it for about 10 less. So I'm assuming because it's agent owned, the agent bought it and then relisted for 120 and then relisted for 130. And then, it's like they're trying to get that $30,000 that you want to get out of a flip. Um, but that's just one example. I mean, you can look at all sorts of different properties around this area. Like this one. This one's a beautiful property. This came up. I think it's been on. I think this one is accurate because it says 11 days, and then I look down here, and yeah, it's listed for sale 24. So it has been 11 days, and this is every bit of 170. I'm actually surprised this is still on the market because it's a really good location.
Hmm.
And I mean, yeah, it does kind of look like it needs a roof, but it looks like all the windows are redone. Well, actually, the roof doesn't look that bad from when you look at it from that angle. Beautiful porch on it. And then, well, the inside, people don't, it's not necessarily quote unquote turnkey. People don't like to see the floor looking like that. But the kitchen is redone, which that's your price. That's a $30,000 kitchen right there. Comes with a piano, wood grain. See, there's a reason this is sitting. It's because it's not like HGTV perfect Instagram ready, right?
Yeah.
It just needs a little bit of paint and maybe lay some floors and a little bit of patchwork, and it's ready to go. But I would, okay, well, maybe 170 is a little high for this. Maybe I would offer 145 and see where that got me. The yard is nice. I think it might have been a rental for a while. That
Yeah,
back
corner
porch
lot.
is that back porch is probably hurting it, to be honest. But yeah, they just need to paint it. So
So
170 is
so
probably
so
a little.
Raymond so Raymond, something like something that you find that it's like, okay, the kitchen looked from the pictures anyway, and pictures can be deceiving, but the kitchen looked like you said, they put money into it. The floors in that, it was odd that the kitchen was done, but the floors in a couple of rooms weren't done. Looked like somebody stopped mid paint job in one of the rooms. Yeah, I mean that obviously they spent money in the kitchen. Maybe it was a rehab that they stopped halfway
Oh,
through or something. If you look at that
well, it's
dishwasher, it looks
hard.
like they, I don't know what they did with that dishwasher, like they,
Well, it's hard to say because you scroll down and then all you see is 11/15/24 listed for sale. But if I go ahead and do, I kind of see where you're leading me here. Let's go ahead and go to the auditor's site and put the parcel number. I know that I'm in Miami County, so I
yeah.
put the parcel number in, and I get the parcel number from the description. So you go facts and features, you expand all, and then you look for parcel number, and then if you want to do control F, you can do parcel, and then it'll show you which one. And so you copy the parcel number, you come in here, paste, and I'm getting my property taxes updated this year. I'm really excited. Not. Um, and then you can look at the parcel. And one of the things I found on this particular property is look at the tax assessment increases. This is a good indication of why they're selling, is the taxes went up considerably. Yeah, now they're at almost 1,600 for the year, and they went up from 1,300 the previous year. So that's a crazy increase in property taxes, in my opinion. But then if you look at the sales history, it looks like the last time was 99. And this is all public info, so it's not even like this is all publicly searchable info. So usually in Miami County, the oldest date you can find is 1990 for stuff. It looks like the last sale was 70,000 in 98, which surprises me because 70,000 in 1998 dollars is basically 170,000 now. It's actually, with inflation, it's doubled. So this is actually right on point with housing inflation. There's a few more, maybe would be, this is a multifamily and it's also at the 200,000 mark. So
Hmm.
thinking about quote unquote house hacking, what you can do is, like, they're asking 199 for this, and it actually, I don't know if it's occupied. It says attention investors, income producing. Okay, so it is occupied. One tenant is paying 850 and the other unit is a new lease signed, and that's as of 64 days ago. So it looks like you have 850 and 1100. What is that? Some dirty napkin math is 2 grand in income. Let's go ahead and plug in, just for giggles, let's go to the mortgage calculator and plug in 199. I don't understand why my paste function doesn't work there. And then it'll remap everything for us. So let's look at the property taxes. I'm just curious, actually, now that I'm looking at. Okay, so
Yeah.
they want almost $2,000 a year for this, which is, that's a lot. I'm going to double check that. Just sometimes the Zillow information is wrong. So what I'm going to do is come in here and do a parcel search, and we're going to do, of course, again, first and last names are on here, but this is all publicly available information. So this is nothing that I'm showing that is uncouth, as it were. Where are my taxes? Okay, so 1933 is right for the taxes on that. That's a lot. We're gonna let's just say $2,000 because it always goes up. And for that property, your home insurance, and it's an active rental. As someone that owns a rental in this neighborhood, I can tell you you're probably going to pay about $1,600 a year for home insurance. So you're looking at, even with 20% down, you're looking at a $1,400 payment at 7% interest rates. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot for, like, if one of these sides were not occupied, like, I think it looks like an over under, or it looks like it might be like this part that I'm hovering over might be part of it, and then it might be a duplex. It might be an actual duplex, like the front and the back. But it's a nice interior. The kitchens are redone.
Yeah.
It's a good look. That bathroom's gorgeous. Look at that. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. What do you got to complain about? $200,000. Looks like vinyl plank floors. This is fine. And that looks like, yeah, it looks like it's split the front and the back.
Looks like a nice duplex.
It's a nice place. If I was a young couple or I was a young guy trying to find a place, I would, and one of these sides was not occupied, and you could move into the front of the back of this and get that $1,300 paid, most of it paid for. It looks like there might be a little under market. Although one bedroom, 850 is about right for the. Yeah, this actually is market rents, because I've got a 3-bedroom that's renting for 1,500, and they got a 1-bedroom for 850. That's market, but it is sitting, because as you can see when you run the mortgage calculator, 1,350 minus, and that's with 40 grand down, basically paying 40 grand plus closing costs to get 2,000 minus 1,350. It's not a great payday. 5,000 a year for $45,000-$50,000 down. Not a buy. Not a buy.
Well,
Tell me if I'm wrong thinking about that. What, from an investor's perspective? I know that you have a lot of rentals.
yeah. So, that, first off, that was great going through that. If you go back to the house hack concept first, I think
Right.
that if you're a, you know, like you had said, a single person, and you can rent one side for the 850. So you're
Mhm.
not going to get that in rent because you're renting it to yourself. But then you rent the other side out for the 1100. Um, and now you're paying not all of your mortgage, but it's getting close to the mortgage. For another $300, you're really getting basically $300 out of your pocket every month. You end up with a place to live, and you're building, I guess, wealth, you could say, by keeping the rental and having the tenant on the other side pay your mortgage for you. So when I look at that, I think, man, that's a great, like you had said, house hack opportunity. From an investor standpoint, you're absolutely dead on. Like, it doesn't seem like, with 40 grand down, and I always think, well, no matter what the
It's a
pictures look
lot.
like, I'm probably gonna have to put in 10 grand into
Yeah.
something. right into something like they forgot to do or
I
some maintenance
mean,
thing. So it's like, yeah, the taxes, insurance, and principal and
yeah,
interest on a seven.
the
What's
it
what is it? 7%? Yeah,
yeah,
6.9.
even if you put 5% down and got a conventional at 5% down, you're looking at $1,600 a month. That's your profit's gone. Your $200 profit, no, forget it. Not
Yeah.
worth
So
it.
like the
And
only
that's
thing,
probably why this is sitting.
right. So the only thing I would do there, the only, well, it's not the only thing, but one of the things I would do is I'd see if there's any equity there that I could sell or finance. So I would say, well, if
Hmm.
let's pretend they have 100 grand in equity, that they can carry the mortgage on, then there are lenders that will um, do something where they'll say, all right, we'll do 100 grand of it at the 6% or the 7%, but then the seller carries the rest, and then you have to make that payment work. So that percentage could be 4%, 3%. I've done them for 2%, where I'm like, well, if you're not going to carry it for 2%, half the cost of the house, this isn't going to work. And so you just find out who needs to sell versus who wants to sell. But you're right, from a straight math standpoint, that one doesn't seem to work if you're just going to buy it and put 40 grand down, which is a lot.
So run that back for me because I'm not a big fan of doing any kind of seller financing because people move and people need to move on with their lives. And usually, when someone's selling a house, they want to get it out of their life. So
Yeah.
what incentive? Like okay, obviously this is an investor owned property. It's something that's been a rental and an income producing rental for somebody for a while. What would like what how would you introduce that conversation? Is that even something you would approach your agent with, or is that something that you would go over with your agent? Like if I wanted to do that, how would you approach that conversation with the selling agent? Like this guy that's selling it. It looks like Jessica. It's a woman, Jessica. Like how would
Yeah.
you approach that conversation?
So um, there's two schools of thought there. One school is you ask the agent, are they open to seller financing? The problem with asking that is rarely will they say yes. A lot of times
Hmm.
they'll say no. Sometimes they say, I don't know. I doubt it. That's usually the answer from the agent. The reality is, any offer you send in that an agent receives, they legally have to present it to their seller. They can't just. In fact, there's a on our contracts here in Central Ohio, there's a line where the seller has to sign saying that they've received the offer. So you know, as the buyer, that they've actually received and reviewed it. Not to say that they're actually considering it, but at least they've got it. So I don't think you have to lose anything you if you want to offer if you want to make an offer and it includes seller financing. I don't think you have anything to lose. And the incentive, well, for the agent, it's the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter how the deal's financed, the agent is compensated the same way, generally speaking. But from a seller standpoint, the big advantage is, one, they get to sell the property. Two is, a lot of them don't know what to do with the money. Like, you'd be shocked how many people are like, man, if I got 200 grand in my bank account right now, I wouldn't know what to do with it. And so a lot of landlords are like, I don't really want to sell because I don't know what to do with the money. And so a seller financing gives them a way to sell the property, get a monthly payment, which they usually like. And it helps them with taxes a lot of times because they're not getting that 200 grand all at one time. They're getting an installment. Um, and so I've had people tell me, well, I can lock in a CD at 4% for the next 5 years. And I'm like, okay, well, I can give you 4.5% for the next 10 years. And they're like, I'm
So
guaranteed 4.5%. I'm like, yeah, on the money.
so do you think that's an economy of scale thing? Because I just don't see that happening here. You know what I mean? Like that's just not I, maybe, and maybe I just don't run in those circles, but like I'm a quote unquote mom and pop investor. I have one rental. You know,
Yeah.
I pay my mortgage for this house with that rental. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
I don't have 10 or 15 properties. I'm not operating in like a major metro center. I'm not operating in Columbus. I'm not, I'm in Miami County, Ohio. So it's kind of I personally never like I'm showing my greenness with this. I've never personally heard of that working out or that being something that's even approachable. And I've never had an agent ever propose something like that. Is
Yeah.
that something that would be basically just like for investors' eyes only, or is that something that your average first-time home buyer or young couple or young family, would they even know to approach something with that perspective, or how would they know to approach it that way?
Yeah, those are all great questions. I think it really just depends on this on the house, the client, or the house, the buyer, and the seller. But I think I look at it like a tool in your tool bag, right? You're like, well, if I look at this property and I really like it, but it doesn't work out financially, and you sense that there's an opportunity to present that's and offer uh make an offer with seller financing, sometimes it works out for everybody. So the
Yeah.
example I always use is that some there are properties I've purchased out in the middle of nowhere where the seller's like, look, I just want to get rid of this thing, but I also need a certain amount of money, or I he has an idea of how much he wants for the property. He's anchored to a certain price. That price doesn't work with bank financing. So what I explain is, hey, you want 200 grand for that property. With bank financing, it doesn't work. But with seller financing, it will if you give me the debt at this rate. Um, the the challenge is it's harder to make it work when there's money owed on the property. If the property is free
Mm.
and clear, much easier to do. But it can be done both ways. I think it's one of those things that people don't you don't see because you're not using a typical mortgage company, so the recording of it, while it is still recorded with the county, um, it's not something people, I think, in generally speaking, understand that happens a lot.
So
But
who
I
who who owns the deed on that?
the buyer, the buyer
So
gets
how
gets a warranty deed just like they always would.
so what insurance does the seller get that he's going to get paid?
Good question. So there's a mortgage and a note just like you would have with a bank.
So it
And so
records a lien on the property.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you record the lien
Okay.
on the property, and they have all the rights to
They have
foreclose what a
recourse.
bank would.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. And, from a term
Mm.
standpoint, one of the beauty things about seller financing is you can actually create a program that makes sense for you and the seller. So, most of the ones I do are 5 years or 10 years,
Mhm.
um, or 7 years, and then I owe them that money, the balance of the loan at the end of that term, and by
So
the end of that term.
it's like a commercial loan. It's
Yeah,
it's like
I guess
with
it is.
a balloon payment, basically.
Many times.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so and one thing to I don't know, I might be speaking out of my knowledge level here, but I'm pretty sure FHA, you are restricted to first lien, so you can't do that sort of arrangement. This would have to be something where you have, like, a personal loan or a commercial loan or some other kind of financing than, like, a Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae loan, right?
Correct, yeah, like a conventional or
You couldn't
FHA
do that.
loan probably
Right,
wouldn't work, no. You
right.
need you'd need more of like a direct lender, like
Yeah.
a hard almost like a hard money lender to do the balance of the purchase price. I will also say it does work, or it can
Mm.
work with an owner occupied property. So like, hey, guy down the street has a house for sale, or you run into him at the grocery store and he says that he wants to sell his
Mhm.
house, or he knows somebody who wants to sell their house. You're looking for a house for you and your family, but you don't want to pay uh, the bank rates, and you don't want to pay the price that the market is demanding. You work out a deal with him, and you can do anything from a lease to own to a land contract to seller financing, and avoid working with the bank altogether, which in a way feels, that's maybe the best part about it, is not having to go to a
So
bank.
here's let's focus on this for a little while. People
Yeah.
are really fed up with using realtors right now.
Yep.
Nobody wants to sign a buyer's contract. The last property I went and looked at, she sent me a buyer's contract that expired at 11:59 that day. To be able to for me to even look, just to park in front of the dang property, I had to sign a buyer's agreement, which is
Yeah.
crazy to me. I did not like that. And people are kind of fed up with realtors. They don't want to do realtors. Obviously, nobody likes banks. No one likes banks. I personally, I got great finance, not a great rate, but a lender that worked with me because this has a commercial shop on it. And so I had to do something a little bit, it wasn't going to go conventional, and a bank helped me out. People are going to have to start coloring outside the lines and looking outside of the box on stuff like this. And I was not aware that, I guess maybe I was aware, but I wasn't necessarily keened in on how you could specifically go about doing an owner financed property. And it kind of lends itself towards being able to look at a Zillow map with by owner and other. I don't know how many of your viewers do look at properties in this tab, this filter by owner and other, because that might be a really great place to start with not conventional financing. Because one of the first things a realtor is going to ask you is, hey, do you have a pre-approval letter? And that was the first thing out of every single realtor's mouth that I've ever talked to. Where's your
Yeah.
pre-approval letter? And I'm like, well, I'll be honest with you. My first house I bought was a cash deal that I found myself, and I went through the selling agent. This house was a for sale by owner that I literally found on Zillow, by owner and others. I hit apply, and it was popped up in the country, and I went and looked at it and worked out a deal. Got a alternative financing through a bank to buy it. So it might be able, you could look at properties like that looks a little pricey for what it is. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of for sale by owner properties. I know that you have mentioned in the past that you do a lot of creative financing, and
Yeah.
maybe you look at stuff through for sale by owner. But I mean, it can be like this listing. I don't understand why it says estimated 206. Oh, it's a foreclosure auction. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it can get a little tricky. And then obviously you can see that when you search for sale by owner and other, the map is significantly less populated than it is if you just look at regular properties.
And by the way, I'm not you clued into something. Not all realtors, not all listing agents are gonna like your seller financing offer, but or your creative financing offer or whatever. Not all owners are gonna like it, but it's and so I guess I don't shotgun it over without understanding
Mhm.
that it's something that could potentially work.
Right.
Um, I
Right.
mean, you could, but usually it works best when you're talking directly to the seller. Usually it does because you can understand what
Okay.
their plans are. A lot of times they, they'll tell me something like, well, and I guess the key question now that I'm thinking about it, the key question that I usually ask is, what are your plans with the money? Like, what are you going to do? What are your plans after you move or after you sell this thing? Oh, I want to go to Florida or I want to travel around in my RV.
See,
Okay.
see, it's
Well,
like if I was trying to sell my house and one of the first questions out of the buyer's mouth was how are you going to use this money, I would just kill the deal. Like, that would be offensive to me, but maybe that's my Midwestern sensibility coming out. I
well,
don't know,
it's
but
probably
I
not the
would
first
feel
thing
like
I mentioned, but
yeah.
but through the
It's just
conversation,
funny to me because I'd be like, what do you care? It's my money now, right?
right. Well, so that's a great point, Raymond. So, like, yeah, so it's probably not something I mentioned at the very beginning, but it's one of the
Right.
things I try to understand. And you understand it by like, the guy, people talk about themselves, they like to. And so the guy will say something like, hey, I can't wait to get this money so I can buy my John boat. Oh, what are you going to do with your John boat? Well, I'm going to go to South Carolina. Oh, I hate this weather. Oh, okay. And then it's like, well, if he's selling a rental property and they're used to getting 500, 1,000 bucks a month, if there's something
Yeah.
psychological about, I get my big chunk of money, the government takes half of it or a quarter of it or whatever. And then I'm left with a chunk of money, but I'm staring at it and it's just dwindling versus getting that $1,000 a month. And if you say, well,
So
how about I give you a chunk to buy your John boat, then I'll give you the 1,000 a month on seller financing, and then you'll have your $1,000 to buy your worms and your lures. Oh, okay, that may make sense, and it
so is
doesn't
that
work all the time, but it can work.
just out of my morbid curiosity? Is that treated like income by the IRS then?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like interest, right? You're making interest on it. The
So
the
it's
principal is not,
15%.
but the
Okay.
interest is.
Yeah. Or
But I
no,
mean,
it's taxed at income bracket. It's not capital gains. Okay, that makes sense.
well,
Like, okay,
as
well,
far as I know,
I
right?
mean, Not investment advice. I obviously don't know what I'm talking about, but like let's
Right.
keep this owner and other listings here, and notice I don't have any other filters. I just have owner and other. And like I noticed, like Piqua, I grew up in Piqua. It's a great city. I noticed this one for 160. That feels like a good price. It's 1,700 square feet. It looks like a nice place. I kind of looked through it here. Bathroom looks fine. Maybe some new caulking or cleaning could do. It looks like maybe it needs some paint, little bit of elbow grease. Like the kitchen's fine. It's got new countertops. I mean, it
How long has that been
looks.
on?
Let's see. That's a good question because I feel like I just two. It says
Wow.
245 days. Let's look at the price. Let's look at the history because okay. It looks like it might have been listed as source owner. Okay, so they've been trying to sell it since March of this year. And they wanted
Wow.
200 in March and they bought it in 2019 for 90, which tracks with inflation since 2020 and that tracks, but it looks like they've been trying to sell it and I wonder if we look at the parcel, let's look at the taxes. And when I'm looking at properties, I kind of keep the counties, and whatever county it is, I kind of keep the county's search records open in another tab so I can hop over. And it looks like, okay, yeah, all that data looks right. 89. Wow, 74 to 89 only in, what is that, 2012? Oh, it's not that far. 58 and 91. And taxes are, that's spendy to me, but somebody in like Franklin County would look at that and say that's a deal.
Raymond, go if you can, go back to that, auditor and go back to the
Sure.
last sale
Last sale.
where it says how it was sold.
Deed type, survivor deed.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'll also I mean, personally, I look for is if there's a survivor deed, sometimes, people are given houses when a loved one
Mm,
passes away, and they sometimes don't know what to do with them. They're like, this is in our family. I guess I should sell it, but a lot of people don't wanna be a landlord. So they're like, "Well, what do I do with this thing?" And they may rent it out, they may stay there, but many times, they don't know what to do with it. Now I always advise them keep it. I tell everybody keep their real estate, don't sell it. But if they're in a situation where they're like, well, my loved one's not here anymore, I wanted I want to move on with my life, but I also want to be treated right. That's where talking to the owner, understanding what they and this doesn't have to be on market, it could be off market example. Talking to the owner to really understand what their how you can help them really like, all right, can I buy this house and if I'm an investor that's going to take care of the house and love it like you do, people sometimes feel better about letting it go versus just listing it on the market.
hmm.
This one may be a
It-
bad example because it's listed, but
no, no, this is, I mean, it's owner listed too.
oh,
So,
it's
I mean,
owner listed. Okay.
and it does look like the owner and the taxpayer address is the same. So
Ah,
it is an owner occupied. It's hard to say. And then the last names did change. So hard to say. But yeah, I mean, it's worth the conversation, I think. It does look like it needs a little bit of work, and that probably is scaring people off. One thing I can tell you, actually, I mean, that's the historic district. It's a nice area. I mean, it's a little crowded once you get farther west on Boone, but Caldwell is like Mansion Avenue. Let's look at the lot lines.
corner
Okay.
lot. Sure.
Like, yeah, corner lot's not bad. Oh, this property next to it, I remember looking at this in 2022. Um, is funny aside, but yeah, I mean, there's all. Oh, now it kicked me back to this other screen. Like this, I would, if I was looking for something right now, I would go. Pick was a fine city, and if you're not, I mean, if you work remotely or you're not wedded to this concept of needing to live in the major metropolitan, Cincinnati or Columbus, this would be I would go look at this. It's a historic district. It's a nice house. Pick was spending millions and millions of dollars on their riverfront. They're doing this whole big condo development down here, and a lot of money is going to start pouring into Piqua. Here's another one that's 1,100 square feet for 149. Probably a little spendy. You could probably talk them down, but it does look move-in ready. I mean, to me, the bathroom's renovated.
Yeah.
That matters. The kitchen looks nice to me. It's got a nice yard. Somebody likes their trucks, but
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even have to, like, you can just search by agent, and you can see. I mean, there's definitely, like, there's some areas of town, like, this is another town. Like, I grew up in Piqua. Like, I know each little nuance of each area. People look at this and they think, okay, this is a suburb. This could be like Newark, or this could be like Polaris or whatever in Columbus. But, like, I know you don't really want to live over here. This is the historic area. This is kind of working class. This is the same deal. And then Troy is a little bit higher value properties in this area. And then, they have $1 million homes over here. As you can see, it's 461 for a garage, basically, but then like a ranch and a garage. And then you have this property too. And I think, 114, you look at this and you say, oh, that's a deal. But I can tell you one thing that's a red flag on this one is it says it's a foreclosure, but then it says it's also listed by an agent. So that could be, you need to figure out the story there. But and then you look at the photos and there's no interior photos. So what I assume when I see that is that it's a total rehab, it's a tenant occupied and they wouldn't let them take pictures, or it's a hoarder's house and it's packed to the gills with a bunch of stuff that I'm going to have to clean out. Now, me personally, I don't really necessarily want to do that. But if you're a young entrepreneurial guy, or you're like a couple trying to look to save a buck, and you can, commit to a month of cleaning out a property and then getting to work, this could be a great opportunity for you.
I mean, that's what you did on the house that you
Yeah.
rent. Can you show, I
Yeah,
don't know if
we
you
can
mentioned
we
that one.
can we can look. So with
And tell me
Troy,
the story with that one.
The historic district is basically right here. And my property that I bought, I did not pay 159 for it, but I bought it for $29,000. And these are the photos that were actually on the listing when I picked the property up. And as you can see, I mean, it's pretty rough. The roof was basically, it was going. Um, you can't really tell, but this side was leaning and sinking into the ground, and I had to do some significant foundation work, and I had to straighten out this wall. That was a big deal. And then, of course, the interior, all of this plaster, these ceilings, the floors, I ripped everything. Everything was ripped out. And this was obviously, it was a rental for a long time, and this was the kitchen, and it was actually an afterthought built into basically the back porch.
Yeah.
Um, an absolute mess. I mean, and I lived here for a year and a half while I renovated it, and I ripped everything out. I mean, all the paneling, everything. I ripped it out down to the studs. I think I've shown you pictures of the actual renovation. I won't. I mean, I guess I could try to pull it up here, but like even the cellar I had to clean out. And what you're not seeing in this photo is like, yeah, it looks like some trash. Now over here, the trash was taller than me. It was up to the ceiling. It was absolutely abysmal. Like behind the furnace and everything, they had mattresses stacked up. It looked like people were living in the basement. It was pretty rough. And yeah, it doesn't look like much in the back. I mean, it just looks horrible. There's broken out windows. I'm actually
Oh, yeah.
surprised the city never fined them or anything. But it's a 1,600 square foot house, and I've got construction background, experience, and they wanted 59 for it. If you look at the price history,
Okay.
um,
That's what I was curious about.
I
And this
think
is a for sale by owner, right?
no, this was actually listed through Coldwell Banker.
Oh, my fault. Okay.
Yeah, when I went to actually look at it, they had dropped it to $39,000, and I bought it for 29. And as you can see, I tried to relist it for 210 at renovated. Um, and it's probably worth showing some
Yeah.
photos
Let's see the
of the
other pictures.
renovation while so this is basically the final product, and these are the photos that I used for my Zillow listing for the rental. Built these cabinets, a fridge and a stove obviously went there. But if you remember looking at the other photos, I mean, it's completely different. That back kitchen I turned into kind of a laundry room thing, and I did end up putting washer and dryer hookups back there. I put a bathroom in downstairs with a walk-in shower. And it's basically a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot house with all new windows. It's got new paint, new drywall, new floors, new doors. It turned out nice, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty proud of the work I did. It took me a year and a half to get here, but it turned out nice. And I it's massive. Like this bedroom, the master bedroom, is 16 by 12.
Wow.
Um, and
Yeah, a lot
I've
of
got
natural
rent.
light.
Yeah, I've got renters in there now. They're very happy, or at least they seem happy.
So are you
There's
glad?
some.
Let me ask you this. Are you glad? I don't think I've asked you this before. Um, because for those that don't know or didn't follow it, Raymond bought this house for basically closed on it for 29 grand, then lived in it, renovated it, um,
Yeah,
then tried to flip it. And when I first started talking to Raymond, he was in the process of getting ready to finish it and put it on the market. Um, and we were talking about comps. He listed it, was successful selling it at the price that he listed it at. It looks like he dropped it once in price, but then
I
decided
dropped it a couple
I'm just
times.
gonna rent it, right? And so, are you happy that you rented it, or you wish you would have sold it? You changed the price a lot.
Yeah, so we dropped it quite a bit over the course of
Yeah.
the listing. Obviously, she took all the realtor I was working with, scrubbed all the photos out. Just to give some people some context, this is kind of what it looks like now. But while I was living in it, I was basically this is what it looked like. Like it was a disaster zone, and I had to take everything down and redo all the electric. And I mean, it was rough. It was a long year and a half, and I mean, the windows, replacing all of them, it was a lot. And I'm glad I hung on to it, because obviously you can tell that, like, interior contracting is kind of what I came up doing. I'm glad I hung on to it because I'm getting $1,500 a month for it, and I retain the asset. Obviously, there's tax breaks for doing income as rental income. And I don't know if people know this or not, but if you so much as drive past your rental, you can deduct the mileage for the entire trip. Again, not tax advice, but that's what we're doing. I'm glad I kept it. I am, to answer your question. I wanted a big payout because I don't like the idea of having a mortgage, but my mortgage is on the house I'm sitting in right now. It's only $86,000 compared to some people's mortgages. That's nothing. And it was a very long year and a half. It was a lot of work. It was really hard to live in it while I was doing it. But at the end of the day, I'm glad that I did it, and now I basically have income. And believe it or not, if you look at the rentals for the neighborhood I'm at, basically at market, it looks like two beds are going for 925. They're listing. Looks like that's two bedrooms. 2,200 for a full house, 1,700 for basically renovated,
So
900
you're
for.
looking at rental comps right now is what you're doing,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
and just quick, and then like full house, 1,000 square
Wow.
feet for 1,400. I mean, anybody in Central Ohio is going to look at this and just their eyes are going to come out of their head because they're not going to believe me. But I'm right here, and I'm at 1,500, and it's basically on par with what you're seeing. Obviously, so I made a choice in 2020 that I didn't want to live in Central Ohio anymore. I didn't want to live in Franklin County. I didn't want to live like in Cincinnati. I like small town life. I'm from this area. As you can see, I mean, we still have $500,000 homes. Like, we've got our new builds out here, and they're massive. And I'm right up the street. I'm right over. Columbus is right over here, and Cincinnati's right down here. And I mean, I'm right off 75. So it's not like I'm in the boonies in the middle of nowhere. I'm an hour and a half to the metro belt of both. Quite frankly, I'm an hour from like Hilliard. It takes another half hour to get into downtown. But I mean, look at these prices in between Columbus and I mean, look at this one, 189 country living, 1,600 square feet.
Yeah.
Let's see. It looks like it's in an actual little hamlet, so you will have neighbors, but still 189, and you have two roads, and you're still. Let's see, is it renovated? It looks like it is.
Yeah.
It's actually really nice. Wow. Look at that. And then you
Yeah.
look at that compared to, not that I'm a huge fan of driving all the time. I hate driving, but if you like you lived in Columbus or you worked in Columbus and you let's see, what's the nearest? Looks like you would basically just go down to 36 and go into Marysville and then down 33 into town. Or you could go over to 68 and go down to Urbana, Springfield. I mean, people don't, you don't want to live in Springfield. 75 is right there. It's not this idea that you're going to be in the middle of nowhere and just you're not going to have any jobs or anything like that. It's not true. Prevailing wage out here is $25 an hour. I mean, and that's factory work. You show up on time and sober, and you're gonna have a job. My
Right.
background is construction. I bill out $30 an hour day labor rates right now, and that's basically like touch up paint, doing punch out lists, sweeping out jobs, demo, that sort of thing. But granted, I've got 20 plus years experience in construction, but that's what I charge.
That's a good price.
And full disclosure, but that's, if it was handyman work, it would be $100 an hour. But that's through a GC, and what I'm saying is you can find work between $45,000 and $75,000 a year easily. It's not like there's no jobs out here. It really bothers me because I obviously I have a YouTube channel and I do real estate videos all the time. And the number one comment I'll get is, I can't live outside of like the beltway of any major metropolitan area because supposedly I'm not going to be able to find a job. It's simply not true. I have literally, last year I made $136,000. It was all Ohio money. Yes, it was mostly remote work, but there was some contracting stuff that I did as well. That doesn't even include the rental income I'm going to start getting. We're not poor bumpkins out here. There's plenty to do. There's plenty of jobs. It's a lot cheaper. And I live 20 minutes away. Dayton International Airport is down here. I live 20 minutes away from Dayton International Airport. I can be on an airplane in 20 minutes. Well, security and all that, but I can be at the airport in 20 minutes and go to Russia if I wanted to. Not that I would, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
it's not the middle of nowhere. And the number one complaint people seem to have is that, oh, sure, you could buy a house for 150, but you're just going to be in Bumpkinville. It's like, no, not really. Like, look at this house. I featured this on my video today. It's in Troy. Garfield Avenue is a great neighborhood. It's very quiet. It's 5 minutes away from 75 right here, I-75. Look at this house. If you're a young guy or you're a young couple and you want to be in a good school district, an hour away, hour and a half away from Cincinnati, this is $149,000. It's not necessarily renovated, but it's eminently habitable. It's the downtown is right over there. Great place, big lot. It's got newer siding. The inside is 100% move-in ready. Like, there's nothing wrong with this house. It's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you get the appliances, everything. This is what I would call move-in ready. 1,000 square feet. That's bigger than the house I'm sitting in right now. Let's see here. Washer and dryer. Look at that. Nice yard. Big patio. Got a garage in the back. This is a great property. It actually does have a garage. You could get a classic car and put that in the back. It's a beautiful house. It's been on for 4 days. I'm actually, being from Troy, I'm actually surprised that this is still on the market. Let's look at the tax history. Okay, so it last sold in 2020 for $87,000. That's about right. That tracks with values. Taxes are a little steep at $1,300, but still, that's what, $110 a month.
That's
Your
pretty good.
insurance, if you're owner occupied, your insurance is going to be. Let's just plug the numbers in. Your insurance is going to be about $1,000 a month for that. You're what, $1,400 for property taxes, and then your price. Let's say you get them down to $140, and then you put 20% down. Even if you're a first-time home buyer and you put 5% down, what is it, 3.5 for first time?
Yeah, you can do 3.5. Yeah.
So even at 7% rates, you're looking at $1,100 a month, and that's assuming the taxes are $1,400 and your home insurance is really high.
Yep.
That's
I
a
mean,
lot, and that's with
rental was.
5,000 down.
I mean, your rental was. I mean, you're seeing rents at 15, $1,300, $1,500. I mean, this is a 2-bedroom, but I mean,
Oh, I
that's
could current state, this would rent for $1,300 a month.
right.
In this market. But That's only with 3.5% down. If I put down 10%, okay, it doesn't drop it that much. Unfortunately, that's how they get you.
Right.
To get it under $1,000 a month, you basically have to put 30 grand down.
Right.
It's a lot, but if you know you want to live there and you're going to live there for a while, which again, I wouldn't advise anybody to buy a primary residence unless you know you're going to be there for a while. I would definitely recommend looking into that.
Yeah, I think one of the important things that Raymond's showing us is um two things as far as detail goes. He's going to a mortgage calculator, and he's also going to the county auditor site to look at the taxes to make sure that Zillow has them correct. And then he's looking at a mortgage calculator to say, all right, what is the actual housing payment, and what happens if I put 5% down, 10% down, 20% down? What does that do to the payment? And then you can determine, hey, is that worth it to me to do that versus is it worth it to put 20% versus 5% or whatever program you can qualify for? I think the mistake a lot of people make is they just look at the Zillow payment on Zillow without adjusting it or playing with the numbers. And the other thing you mentioned, which is really cool, is I wrote this down, is that you look every day. And I think that's
I do.
really
Yeah.
important. Yeah, if you really wanna find a house, you gotta look every day, and if you look every day, it doesn't take you that long because you've already seen everything from the previous day.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even see right here what's bright red versus light pink. It's what I looked at versus what I didn't look at. Like, you can see,
Oh,
obviously,
yeah.
I'm not gonna look, there's certain things that, sure, I'll open it, but like, I'm not gonna dig into this. Why would I look at this? Like, this is
Right.
crazy big, and it's way too much. But, I zoom out and I see, okay, well, let's zoom in here. Well, that's 440, that's a lot. Here's 120, but that looks like it's just a lot. Yeah, that's the problem with the country out here. Everything's super expensive. That's been on the market for a while. It's probably a total rehab. Yeah, it's the country market out here is crazy expensive, 315, and that's only a 0.74 acre lot next to a metal roof though is nice.
Looks renovated, yeah.
It's expensive. I mean, like, okay, so this is 115, but it looks like it might be next to a bunch of, okay, so it is kind of in a hamlet. Yeah, there's a lot of give and take. I mean, here's the problem. I don't, like, full disclosure, I don't look at anything except for existing real estate. I don't look at new builds. It's not even on my radar. Like, it doesn't exist to me. I don't even get my hopes up. Like, it's the same reason I don't go to new car lots. I'm not going to go get in a brand new Ford F-150 because then I'm going to want to drive it home. And like, I don't do that. I'm realistic. Like, I drive a 1995 F-250, 7.3 liter. People who know that that's like the best one you can get. But anyway, and I work on my properties with it, by the way. So it is actually a work vehicle. And anyway, I only look at existing real estate. I don't necessarily look in the quote unquote desirable neighborhoods. That doesn't mean low crime, high crime. I'm talking about like Troy or Pick or Tip City versus Dayton or Cincinnati. Like, I don't even bother trying to look in Cincinnati. Like, if I was going to try to buy down in Cincinnati, I'd probably start looking in the outskirts of Cincinnati. If I was going to look in Columbus, probably one of the first things I would do is go ahead and set a price filter for like a maximum price of 300 and see if there was anything. Um, Obviously it's going to be a little tougher. And then, I don't know if I'd want to live in Linden or something like that, or down in Marion or out in Reynoldsburg. But, you look out, like Newark's an hour away and you see a lot of like 150s and 145. And let's see, let's just zoom in here for a second. 139, that looks fine. There was one that I feel like I pulled up.
It was on East Main Street there,
I
right
don't,
right near where you are. If you zoom in a little bit more, it's right there on East Main.
it was one of these. Was it this one? Yeah,
Yeah,
like this is
there it is.
200. And this, in my mind, it's 2,000 square feet. And if you know Newark, like, okay, if you know Newark, oh, it's only been on Zillow for 3 hours. So that means it'll go today. Because I'm already on here saying it looks nice. But look at this.
Yeah, it's a
It's
nice house.
gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yep.
And it's just the kitchen is redone. Yeah, this will go quick. I didn't realize it was literally only on Zillow for 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah. So by the time this goes live, it'll be gone.
Right,
Um,
right.
But like I said, I mean, that just goes to show if you are serious about buying a property and you're looking for a primary residence or even an investment property, you need to be looking every day. But yeah, that's basically how I approach it. I don't necessarily look at foreclosure auctions that much because I don't feel like being outbid by somebody who has millions and millions of dollars in the bank or even a line of credit that's super big. I don't play in that game. I'm looking for smaller investment properties. I live in a 100+ year old house that's 850 square foot on half an acre, unincorporated. It's in the middle of, it's in a little hamlet in the middle of nowhere. I'm not a
Right.
fancy guy. It's just me. I don't need a lot. So you need to be realistic about your life situation where you are. And I personally, my theology, my personal philosophy, I guess you could say, is I really, even if you're single, I think if you're pretty set on like living in a certain geographic location, or you figured out, okay, I want to live in like Western Ohio, my family's here, or whatever. I still think buying real estate is still the cheapest way to get a roof over your head. And it also gives you an equity position in something real. I like trading real assets. Infer from that whatever you will. But owning real estate is still, I think, the most cost effective way to get a roof over your head, especially if you look at it as small towns, rural areas, not necessarily in a urban center. Um, Not that it's bad to live in an urban center. I'm just saying there are options for you outside of super high priced real estate markets. And now that the real estate market is really softening, you're going to see, like we just looked at in Newark, really beautiful move in older homes that are 200 grand. 200 grand on a mortgage calculator. I mean, let's just see. I'm going to assume the taxes are crazy on that one. So 3,000, it's $1,400 with 20% down. And if you put 5% down, it gets up to about $1,600. But I mean, that's including, I didn't pull the actual tax history. I didn't pull the insurance comparables. Do your homework. But what I'm saying is it is absolutely possible to find something for 200 grand, 150 grand. Just move in ready places that are don't need a ton of work that you can live in and actually enjoy. Like this house for 150. This I Somebody needs to go buy this house. Like it's a beautiful house. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it is. And I would say the other thing is you don't have to follow the trend being, hey, it doesn't have to have granite counters and stainless steel appliances. All that can be changed. The one thing you can't change is the location,
mhm,
but you can change all the cosmetic stuff. So even if you've went and looked at a house like this and you're like, I mean, I really don't like the fact that those cabinets are all white, or I don't really like the flooring. So what? Like, don't buy it based on flooring. Don't buy it based on appliances.
mhm,
Don't buy. I remember, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, the first house that my wife and I purchased, we walked in and thought that the ceiling fan in the living room was cool. Like, it was like a stainless steel looking ceiling fan, and I had never seen anything like it. I'd only lived in apartments until then, and I thought, wow, that's really awesome. And the realtor pointed that out, and that like sticks in my mind as one. And it's sad to say, but it's one of the reasons why we purchased the house was a freaking ceiling fan. Now,
that's
that was
pretty
a long
good.
right, that was a long time ago, but it's like, yeah, don't be that guy. Don't be me.
Right.
Um, it's there's something to be said for buying something that allows you to comfortably afford it, and then over time upgrade it. And like you said, the market is getting softer, and so there are, especially houses that need work. Money is expensive right
Mhm,
now, and so to go out and say, "Oh, this house needs 50 grand of work," and the house is priced at 200 grand. Well, if it's been on the market a little while, make an offer that's disrespectful. Make an offer that the person cringes when they see it. They're like, "Man, that's low." Then at least you're on the right track, because
mhm.
um, there's no crime against making an offer that's low. You're not going to go to
Exactly.
jail,
The,
right?
and the other thing that you made me think of real fast, and then I got a jet here in a little bit,
Yeah.
but, a lot of people, I'm 36, a lot of people my age and younger, they want what they've seen their parents work for 40 years to get. They want it instantly. And they want that perfect boomer-esque real estate package right now, not remembering that they're 25, they're 30, they're 35, and literally 25, 30, and 35 years ago, their parents were living in abject squalor compared to the house they're living in now. Even if they
Right.
are owning the same house and they built up all this equity over time, they redid things, they bought a boat. There's all kinds of life that happens. Be open to finding something for $110,000 that over 20 years you can renovate and redo. I Rome wasn't built in a day. It's cliche, but cliches are cliches because they're true. I feel like millennials and especially Gen Z, if they haven't just given up completely on real estate, which I hate that for them, because you're really robbing yourself of a fantastic investment vehicle you're just robbing your future if you're just writing off real estate and you're saying I'm just going to rent forever. I'm sorry, you just are. But if you can invest some time and then money over time and learn how to do some things yourself, make some buddies that are maybe in the trades or electricians or somebody that, like, I paid my friends $9,000 to rewire that rental. And yeah, the actual materials was $4,500, but it was a $9,000 job. And now I have 2020 certified house. It's fantastic. It's up to code. Everything is great. But
Yeah.
yeah, people my age, we're very impatient. Everything has to be right now. And yes, everything looks great on TikTok, but Susie or Becky or whoever you're trying to compete with on Instagram, they don't show you, like, my camera angle right now is my shingles on my little interior house here, the wall, and then my bookshelf. You're not seeing like the bathroom right over there and the blank white wall right over there. Like, and behind my camera is just an old door. Like, you don't see the whole picture. So maybe slow down a little bit and realize that you can save a ton of money over the long haul if you're willing to do a little bit of work and a little bit more research and look outside of your comfort zone. Because quite frankly, Central Ohio, like, all it's doing is expanding, and there's just everybody's moving to Central Ohio. So it really doesn't matter where you buy, it's going to come up, especially if your time horizon is 7 to 10 years.
Great point. Great. That's awesome, Raymond. Well, it was very educational today, watching how you find some opportunities. And I need to mention this as well. You kind of mentioned it, but Raymond has a YouTube channel, Raymond Thoughts in Mind. I'll put the link in the description below, and you guys got to go and check out his videos. He is a content machine and produces very really very real content, very content that comes from the heart. You can tell, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So check out Raymond Thoughts in Mind. And then again, Raymond, thanks for helping us out today and showing the folks how you hunt for properties. Great techniques. So the more the story is, expand your horizon, open up your mind, and go find a deal.
Yeah, cool. Jason, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks.